Second to the Hummel multimeter, the oscilloscope must be the most useful piece of test gear used for working with electronic circuitry. Whilst there are many ready-made scopes out there, both new and second-hand, aside from the majority being too complicated for a beginner to understand, there's still a lot of satisfaction to be had in making one's own equipment, hence the idea behind this video. Whilst there are numerous circuits out there for simple beginners oscilloscopes, I fancy trying out some of the ideas they incorporate to see what sort of useful performance could be realised from a bare minimum of active components. My interest started off many years ago with a miniature oscilloscope project from the Radio Construction magazine, based in 1979. Just one double valve and a neon relaxation oscillator for the time base made it about as simple as it could be. However, on experimenting with the neon time base, I realised it was still very limiting in its frequency range, and at the end of the day still needed a valve to amplify it. At best, with a carefully selected neon with my experiments, the sawtooth quality was barely adequate, plus that this was only over a very narrow frequency range. The rest of the miniature scope didn't even encompass what I personally consider to be the minimum spec required for the beginner to make useful measurements with. For example, a decent X time base. This of course is used to draw the horizontal line on the tube face. Then you also need a good Y amplifier to introduce up and down movement to the spot, and flyback suppression to lose the unwanted line on the screen when the spot returns from right to left, and lastly a decent sync amplifier. It's needed to synchronise the incoming waveform with the time-based generator. Having used oscilloscopes for many years, I consider the absolute minimum of controls on the front panel as follows. In order to make it possible to adjust the display, you need an X and a Y shift. These are needed to move the time-based line up and down, plus from side to side. You also need a Y sensitivity required to adjust the amplitude of the signal going into the instrument, and of course we need coarse and fine time-based adjustments to match the scan rate of the incoming signal to be examined, plus obviously a brightness and focus control to set up the display how you want it. With a single Y voltage input socket, that's all you need. It's of course mandatory to make the instrument usable. It's up to the user whether they choose to add an external X input. For my first scopes I didn't bother, but others might choose to do this. Here's a typical example of a beginner's oscilloscope which I myself built back in 1979 again. It used a total of 6 valves, 2 of which immediately could be substituted for 2 high voltage silicon rectifiers. It's clearly a well thought out circuit and straightforward enough to be built in a modular form by groups of students. Indeed, it has its limitations, as all do simple scopes, but this has proved to be an invaluable tool over the years and still works well to this day. Whilst I'm not going to use this particular circuit for this video, it can be simplified considerably, yet doing a similar job by just using a total of 2 valves. Before we show details of our design, here's a little curio in the form of a miniscope made by GEC in the late 1940s. It has a tiny 1.5 inch tube and it's shoehorned into a narrow 9x7 case along with its 3 valves and its power supply. Some might immediately ask why we'll be using valves instead of transistors for this project. The answer is simple. As we need to use high voltages for the CRT, there seemed little purpose in creating a design using high voltage transistors simply to transistorise the thing. So let's start off by taking a quick look at the cathode ray tube we'll be using. It's actually an ex-Soviet tube with a 5 cm faceplate, which is probably about as small as one wants for any serious fault finding usage. It's fortunately bought new in box with a double-sided specification sheet, although this is in Russian. There's no reason why many other small CRTs couldn't be used in this circuit as long as the data sheet is available. In the absence of a suitable matching rear connector, I decided to temporarily fix the tube onto a piece of wood and wrap wire around each pin and take these off to a tag strip close by. This proved perfectly adequate. This is the circuit for the oscilloscope power supply. We've chosen a basic mains transformer with without a centre tapped HT winding, as these will be easier to find today. Voltage doubler increases the negative supply to give a total voltage swing of over 1000 volts, so extreme care must be taken if this circuit is used. This high voltage should enable a large number of different CRTs to be used. Second transformer is just a supply for the heaters of the 2 valves. The LT supply on the larger transformer must not be used for these 2 valves because it sits 700 volts negative to the ground for the CRT filament. Here are the components directly associated with the CRT. Note, for the purposes of construction, whilst the focus and brightness are situated on the power supply board, the other 2 are on the base of the tube for the convenience of the wiring here. In this image we can see the circuit being used for the time base using an EF80 valve. Many other pentos will work here, but ensure the valve of your choice does not have the suppressor grid tied internally to the cathode. Note that in our temporary lash up we're only using one time base range to demonstrate the circuit. I imagine that almost everyone wishing to construct their own oscilloscope would want to use a double pole 3-way rotary switch, giving a total of 3 time base ranges. The capacitor values are given to the right of this image in the box. Several simple oscilloscope circuits I've seen omit the sync circuitry. Whilst it's not essential, I think it's a necessary feature, so I've included one here. When I demonstrate our simple circuit shortly, you'll see why it is I feel this is important, even for a basic instrument. Last piece of major circuitry in this project is the Y amplifier, and to be honest, it's probably the area where the more advanced scope user might wish to improve upon with a slightly more complex circuit. The current issues? Well, this one is relatively insensitive and overloads quite easily. With that said, once one understands its limitations, then it's perfectly usable in many test and measuring instances. Here's a shot of the bird's nest appearance of the time-based generator, the sync amplifier and the Y amplifier. Hopefully anybody deciding to embark on making their own version of the circuit will do a neater job than this. Just remember, as soon as this video is completed, the whole project will be broken back down to its component parts. Before we finish with this circuit, I've included this small portion here, which is displaying the flyback blanking, which tries to eliminate the trace left by the spot when it returns on the right hand side of the screen. Interestingly enough, the 1979 radio constructor circuit does not have this particular facility. Here we see it. A giant bird's nest with an oscilloscope built. I apologise for the mess, but as I've already explained, once this video is done I shall be dismantling it all and it will be going back to its spares boxes where everything came from. That's why there's a variety of bits and pieces, from the gigantic capacitor here to odds and ends from all over the place. So quickly let's point out a few key points. This obviously is the tube which we talk about. Here are the two valves. There's the one which is a double triode and an RF pentode, which is used for the time base. This is the power supply with its two transformers. This is an ordinary mains transformer with just the high voltage and low voltage outputs. It's not centre tapped, as we said in the write-up. The three capacitors here are to do with the voltage doubler, which doubles up the voltage for the tube. Not a lot else. I'll point out what each one of these controls do when we turn it on, but this is the whole thing as you see it. These are the controls which for the tube I've kept on the power supply, and there's two more at the back here which are the shifts, and on here you have the time base, the input and the sync. So if we turn it on, click, hopefully we'll see a line on the screen very soon which will show that the time base is running. What we'll do quickly is fiddle with these, which is the brilliance and the focus, and then we'll do the shift. Oh look, looks like we have something coming up. So this should be the brightness control, as you can see. This one is the focus. This is a shift. This is the Y shift, and this one's the X shift. So all is working well there. Let's turn that brightness down a little bit. So let's turn on a little bit of sine wave for you. That's a 1 kHz sine wave coming through. What I'll do now is I'll adjust the camera slightly so you can see it a little bit clearer on the screen. With the camera in this position, it's probably easier to see the interaction between the controls and the oscilloscope. So we still have a 1 kHz sine wave there. Now usually, as I say, there are 3 settings you'd normally have with the course for the time base, but using the fine we can probably pick up 3 harmonics of that, the 1 kHz, that's 1, that's 2, and we might be able to pick up a third one. Yeah, there's the third one. So it has quite a good lock. Now if we disconnect, out of interest, once we go back to our 1, if we disconnect the sync amp, remember we talked about sync before, one can see how difficult it is to, let's turn it off completely. It's not well, obviously if you don't have a sync on a scope, then this is showing what it's like. difficult to find the... Everything's going everywhere all the time. You're trying to hit the right spot. Fortunately, once you put the sync on, then it locks it quite nicely. Right, so there we go. That is 1 kilohertz. Now, these small, simple scopes don't normally have a very good top-end bandwidth. This will run through to about 100 kilohertz, whereas the student's constructional one I showed you earlier on, that runs out of steam at about 15 kilohertz. By 20 kilohertz, it's a pretty poor waveform. So this, now, if we go up to 10 kilohertz, that's 10 kilohertz. So in fact, it's not too bad. Once we start winding the time base up a bit, we end up with some anomalies at this end. It's stretching a bit, but that's without the sync. So that's 10 kilohertz. And if we go up to 100 kilohertz, it's still registering. Whereas the vertical amplifier in the student's constructional one, you have a straight line, there's nothing to be seen. There's not a lot we can see there. I can just about make out the steps in there. If we shift that about, yeah, there's a bit of an anomaly appeared at this end, but that's only at the very high frequencies there. So there we go. Let's go back down to 1 kilohertz very quickly. That's right, yeah, 1 kilohertz. And if we change that to a square wave, that's 1 kilohertz square wave. For some reason, the square wave from this oscillator was always a lot smaller than that from the sine wave. So we'll try turning it up a bit, yeah. Go quite a bit higher. So we go back to the sine wave again. Yeah, see how much bigger it is. So that's about it for the simple oscilloscope. You have to decide, whether it's worth spending a bit more time and building a more complex one, but you can do a lot with a simple scope like this. Remember, with the 3 ranges on here, you can do a lot of things with it. The input amplifier is not bad, you can see it works, but it runs out of steam, easy to overload, so you can make a more complex one. I mean, theoretically one could build it like this and then add bits if you felt like it. There's no X input on it, but it could be interesting for litigious figures to play around and see what it's like having a no X amp connected, so you can use the X and Y plates separately. And any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments below.